Dr. Francis, thank you so much for joining us today. Let's just look at the budget allocation this year. 123.6 billion shillings. It was up 18% for the year. Give us an idea of where you're prioritizing a spend right now when it comes to roads.
Well, right now we are prioritizing to conclude the Thika Road because it's one of our major projects that we've just about finished, and we think that will really open up the hinterland. We are also trying to conclude the roads all the way leading to Uganda, the Northern Corridor, where we have got a wonderful output, especially in providing transit traffic, which has increased quite tremendously recently. We realize that within Nairobi also we need to make sure that we provide proper accessibility and passage to remove the decongestion that's happening. So right now we have studies going on from all the way from Jomo Kenyatta across the city of Uhuru Highway to see whether we can put some elevated the highway on top of the Uhuru Highway in order to provide more capacity for passage of traffic. The bypasses are coming in very handy right now. We concluded the eastern bypass, the northern bypass. We've just started the southern bypass that will start from Mombasa Road near the Tile and Carpet Center and cross over all the way to Limuru.
Yeah.
That will be able to take over quite a lot of traffic. So we think we have got a lot of places to put the money.
I mean, the Nairobi Thika super highway is 50 kilometers. It's the first 8-lane highway that we're seeing in the region. When is it set to launch, and to what extent is that going to help alleviate traffic in key areas, and I suppose just move people and goods from key areas in the country?
Well, the Nairobi Thika highway, which is 440 million shilling project, will not only open up the central Kenya, but is actually the outlet to Ethiopia, because it's part of the A2, the main highway that leads all the way to Moyale. And right now we have got the section from Isiolo to Moyale under construction in 3 sections. The first section is completed, the second section is started, and the third section has started. But what that means is that the central region, which is very agriculturally potential, will have a lot of access in terms of people bringing their goods to Nairobi, and also open up to take the goods out to our hinterland. So we think the Thika Road is wonderful.
Yeah, and of course, you also have some partners when it comes to construction, the China Roads and Bridges Corporation being one of them. You've also had funding coming through from development finance institutions. But at this point in time, I mean, what are the current themes and what are the current approaches that you have with regards to private sector partnerships with the government to build these roads?
Well, the partners have come in very handy, but the central government is also taking up quite a number of projects in the hinterland that sort of complements what's coming in with the development partner. We also have the fuel levy, which we are currently using in order to keep all these new constructed roads open. We want to make sure that once we have opened up and brought up all these roads to a maintainable level, they remain that way, so that we never go back to where we were before, where we forget about maintaining them. In the last 3 years, since we had the 3 authorities, we've seen a marked improvement of the level of service of all these roads that we are doing under construction right now. So we think a lot of that money is going to the right places. Yeah.
Francis, in terms of the mix between which roads are publicly funded and which roads have been privately funded, how have you made that allocation or that decision which roads are going in which, not in which direction, but in terms of the funding mechanism between public and private?
What we've done is, for the last 3 years, we developed a road sector investment program, a 15-year program, with the first 5-year being the short term, the second 5-year mid-term, and the third year long-term, up to 2024. In our investment modeling that gave us the prioritized roads, our priority was economy. So we picked up all the paved roads, took in all the factors that go with it, the roughness and everything, ran it through an investment model, and we've actually pulled out prioritized approach to the roads that we should invest in right now. So what the ministry is following is that prioritized listing to make sure that our money goes to optimal contribution to the economy.
The last thing I have to ask you, Francis, is with regards to moving to rail when it comes to especially goods transportation, which is a lot more efficient for businesses. I mean, what is government's optimal level when it comes to the use of rail versus roads? Because roads currently, as I said earlier, accounting for 93% of passenger transport and cargo transport.
You're right. I mean, actually it's 95% of the passenger and cargo that's being moved by road, which is not very good for the road network because of the overloading and the problems that are associated. The government has now invested very heavily this financial year in improving the railway, bringing the standard gauge line. And right now, the study that's going on is how best to hasten the introduction of the rail lines all the way from Mombasa. In Mombasa, we're already investing in private ports so that we can be able to handle as much cargo as possible. And out of those ports, we will be able to move cargo to the railway line, which can carry the heavy cargo, so that we can relieve the road network. That will take a little time, but I think the government has got its strategy properly sorted out. And I think within a year or two, you'll see the impact of the railway starting to improve.
Dr. Francis, thank you so much for joining us today to give us some views on what's taking place with regards to road infrastructure in Kenya. That, of course, Dr. Francis Nyangaga, Executive Director of Kenya Roads Board.